Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 41 of 100 Days of Making Comics, round 2. My name is Jan. Every day I spend a little bit of time working on my personal comic book project, Phosphor. And I have reached a milestone yesterday with day 40, where I completed the rough inks version of the first issue of my comic book. I've been working on this comic book for some time, I'd say about 2 years on and off. So I've taken the story, like I've really worked out a lot of the world building on my own, out of the view of everyone else, so I can just mess around with it. And so now it's time to have another go at seriously getting this comic book up and running, which is what this second round of 100 Days of Comics is about for me. Having had some false starts in the past year. So the 26 pages I now have, cover not included, I'm pretty happy with them. I've had my first feedback saying that people, well, I'm talking about Ox, can follow the story along fine, and this is all without dialogue. And so now the next coming couple of days, well, who knows, maybe it's the next 60 days, I hope not. The idea is, of course, to start writing the actual dialogue. In the past, I've written quite a lot, and this is all like lying all over the place on paper, on files, text files, you name it. But now I need to just leave that and just allow the story to fill these pages. So one of the new additions I have in this version, which I'm quite fond of, is that I wanted to see if I could, place the balloons so that the story would flow properly. But, because the dialogue wasn't pinned down, I sometimes added balloons at random or little dialogue boxes. And that, of course, this randomness is giving me new ideas. And so one idea I have right now with the boxes, because one of the big issues, I think, not big issues, but one of the rules I kind of need to establish is like, should you be able to read people's thoughts in this comic book? Should people have thought bubbles? I think there's nothing wrong with having thought bubbles, but I remember very well, like, once I noticed that in the Savage Dragon they don't do that, for the most part, to the best of my knowledge, it kind of blew my mind. Because of course you can't read people's thoughts, but it's one of those things where in books, like, the inner workings of characters can be explained in a variety of ways. You can either hear their thoughts directly, or there can be some kind of narrator, either as a figure or the author himself, herself. And so I have these boxes on this page, and I'm thinking, should I, as the narrator, help clue you in? Or, and this is an idea I've thrown around in the past before, or should I have a different character narrate events or his version of things to add a layer of story? And so what I've been thinking is, well, there's two things. One, we completely ignore them because this is a test run for the dialogue. Like, I don't want to weigh myself down with the importance of writing dialogue and like trying to craft the words, and like, I want to continue on this role that I'm going on with the art, which is like, these are all different steps. These are all different runs of the whole issue, so that I can learn as much as I need to learn to get to a polished first comic book that I'm very pleased with. How many steps are there? I don't know. but I call it the Gazbot approach. So yes, so the rough pencils, rough inks, now the rough dialogue. I think for the first attempt at the rough dialogue, I completely ignore these boxes. And I go just for the straight up dialogue that is actually being spoken by characters on the page. No thought bubbles, nothing. We'll see how quickly we can get that out. And then after that, like once we have that up and running, I am going to narrate the story from the point of view of one of the spies, as if he or she, whichever one of the two, maybe I'll write for both, but whichever one of the two, as if they are writing a report to their corporate overlords, whoever it is they're writing to or filing these reports to. And I think that could add a nice little layer. It could be kind of distant and professional. It can add it can add a nice little contrast with the vibe I want to get going with a lot of the crew we meet, where they're this kind of a tight-knit family, in dire straits, but trying to make it work and trying to have fun, who are being observed. But I want them, I want the dialogue and the way they interact with each other be very familiar, but at the same time, and this is something I learned from the book my colleague, my coworker, is writing, and that I got to help, give feedback on. Of course, I need to find that balance where, if we get too, what's the expression? Inside baseball. If we get too familiar with these characters from the start, if I write them as being too friendly with each other, too familiar, then you might actually feel excluded as the reader. And so it would really help if I have a character who is new to the scene. And so in a way, these spies have just come on board, so they're new to the scene, but they're not actually in the scene. They are going to be shown around, but that's not how I start my story. The way I have written this issue 1 is let's follow them along on a regular day at work, if you will, to really ground you in this universe, so that when we get into the really sci-fi stuff, even though there's plenty of sci-fi stuff in this, you're familiar with them, with the world, you can relate to them because it's something we all have worked in similar situations, I'm assuming, unless you lucked out and you became a professional comic book artist from the get-go. That can happen. So that is kind of my thinking on this day 41 of my 100 days of making comics. So this video is going just over 8. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to get started on my half an hour to an hour today, because it's getting late and it's a Sunday. Tomorrow, unfortunately, I have to be back at work, but I have to get up early because I have to get some paperwork done. The cita previa for a renewal, as it's called, for my here in Spain you have a foreign number, a foreigner ID number, if you will. And so since taxes are coming up, I need to make sure that is all in order. So, and I want the little card they hand out nowadays. They didn't do that back then. So yeah, I'm on that. I've been postponing it for long enough. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys are all doing well on this weekend and got your hours working on your personal comic books in. If you're following the 100 Days of Making Comics, of course, there's a Facebook page called The 100s. Be sure to check it out. There's lots of us doing this challenge. If you do a little search around YouTube for 100 Days of Making Comics, you'll see lots in the last couple of years. But even right now, as we speak, there might be more people joining the fray. So I hear. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.